It's been nearly 100 years since we first looked up at the stars and realized that we are not alone. We have potentially trillions of copies of Earth out there just waiting to be found. And yet, despite all our technology, all our radio telescopes pointed heavenward, we still haven't heard so much as a peep from any extraterrestrial civilizations. This is what scientists call the Great Silence, or more technically the Fermi Paradox, and it has left many wondering, where are they? In this video, we're going to look at some of the possible explanations for why we haven't made contact with aliens yet, from the idea that we're just too early for them to reach out to us to the possibility that they've already visited Earth and decided we're just not worth bothering with. So sit back, relax, and get ready to find out why we haven't met aliens yet. Or have we? If you're new here, welcome to my channel, where we explore the greatest mysteries of our universe. Join me on my quest to uncover the answers to the unknown by subscribing for weekly videos and joining our awesome community. Let's get started. First things first, let's talk about the Fermi Paradox itself. Named after the Italian physicist Enrico Fermi, who first brought up the argument in 1950, this paradox highlights the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life existing and the fact that we haven't found or heard from any aliens yet. There are billions of Earth-like planets out there in the Milky Way galaxy, and even if only one of them had life on it, we should have found some kind of evidence by now, right? Well, according to Fermi's logic, he reasoned that given enough time and an infinite number of planets, it was almost certain that life would arise again and again. And sooner or later, some of those civilizations would reach out into space and make contact with other worlds. But we haven't heard from any aliens yet. So where are they? Well, there are a few possible explanations for this great silence. First off, we could be truly alone in the universe. Life might be incredibly rare, and we really could be the only ones out here. If that's the case, then there's no one to call. Or maybe we are not alone, but there aren't any advanced civilizations out there. Perhaps every civilization tends to destroy itself before it can become interstellar. After all, we have come close to destroying ourselves several times throughout our history, with wars and environmental disasters always looming around the corner. Maybe the universe has a funny way of ensuring that civilizations don't get too big for their britches. Another explanation is that maybe they're out there, but we're just not listening in the right way. Maybe they're trying to contact us and we're just not picking up their signals. CT scientists are actively searching for signs of intelligent life in the universe using radio telescopes like the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute as Allen Telescope Array. However, these telescopes are only capable of detecting radio waves, which means that if aliens are trying to communicate using a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum, such as infrared light, we might be missing their calls. Or maybe they're trying to contact us in person rather than through radio waves. And that brings us to another intriguing possibility. Maybe they've already visited Earth. In fact, there are a lot of people who believe that they have. Conspiracies abound regarding the existence of UFOs and alien cover-ups by the government. While there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, it does make you wonder if we are truly alone in the universe. If aliens have managed to visit Earth, then that suggests that they have some pretty advanced technology. It would also mean that they are capable of traveling between star systems, which is no easy feat. The nearest star system to ours is Alpha Centauri, which is about 437 light-years away. Even if aliens were to develop a spaceship that could travel at half the speed of light, it would still take over 8 years to get there. And that doesn't even account for the time it would take to refuel or repair the ship along the way. Needless to say, interstellar travel is extremely difficult, which makes it all the more impressive if aliens have managed to do it. Okay, so maybe we're just not listening in the right way, or maybe they're trying to contact us in a way that we just don't understand. But there are two more possibilities that we should discuss. Maybe we are just too early for them to contact us, or maybe we are too late. According to astronomer and author David Kipping, we might simply be too early in the cosmic conversation for aliens to reach out. In his book, Living in the Age of Intelligent Machines, he argues that civilizations don't tend to become spacefaring until they have developed some form of artificial intelligence. He believes that AI is a necessary step in the evolution of any civilization, because it allows for the automation of tasks which frees up humans to pursue other endeavors. However, this also means that there is a significant gap in time between the development of AI and the ability to travel to other star systems. According to Kipping, it could take thousands of years to develop the technology necessary for interstellar travel once AI has been developed, and that's just on the low end. Other estimates put the timescale for developing this technology at hundreds of thousands of years. If that's the case, then we are definitely too early for aliens to be knocking on our doors. After all, we've only developed artificial intelligence in the last few decades. It's likely going to be a very long time before we see anything close to an alien civilization due to this technological gap. On the other hand, we could be too late. According to this theory, most civilizations tend to destroy themselves before they can achieve interstellar travel. As we mentioned earlier, civilizations that reach a certain level of technological advancement often face challenges such as wars and environmental disasters that threaten their very existence. For example, the development of nuclear weapons has led to concerns about mutually assured destruction, which has spurred efforts towards disarmament and peace. Likewise, climate change poses a serious threat to human civilization and requires global cooperation to mitigate its effects. If these challenges are not overcome, then it is possible that humanity could face its own extinction. It is conceivable that something similar has happened to other civilizations throughout history, preventing them from reaching the stars. After all, we have seen how quickly civilizations can rise and fall throughout history. For example, the Mayan civilization declined rapidly after centuries of warfare and environmental degradation. Similarly, the Bronze Age collapse saw the downfall of several civilizations in Europe, Asia, and Africa due to a combination of factors including climate change, overgrazing, and natural disasters. If civilizations are so fragile, then it is possible that none will ever reach the stage of interstellar travel. Maybe we are the last ones standing, and that is why we haven't heard from any aliens yet. So, what do you think? Are we truly alone in the universe, or are there other civilizations out there that we just haven't found yet? Let me know in the comments below. And speaking of finding things, and now let's get back to the video. Of course, it is also possible that none of these explanations are correct and that we are truly alone in the universe. However, I find this to be a bit unlikely given the sheer size of the universe and the number of planets out there. There are billions upon billions of planets in the Milky Way galaxy, and it is estimated that there are around 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe. Even if life only arises by chance on one planet out of every trillion, that still leaves us with millions of potential homes for life. Given the vastness of the universe and the number of planets out there, it seems highly unlikely that we are the only ones. However, while we may not be alone, we may still be too early for contact. As we discussed earlier, it could take thousands or even millions of years for a civilization to reach the point where they can travel to other star systems. So we may simply have to wait a while longer before we hear from anyone else. But that doesn't mean we should stop looking. In fact, it is because of the possibility of life out there that makes the search for extraterrestrial intelligence so important. If we can find life elsewhere in the universe, it would revolutionize our understanding of the cosmos. It would also raise a lot of philosophical questions about the nature of life, the universe, and everything. As Carl Sagan said, we're all made of star stuff. The atoms that make up our bodies were forged in the hearts of long-dead stars. We are literally connected to the universe in a way that we are not yet fully aware of. By searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, we are searching for a part of ourselves that is out there among the stars. We may not have heard from them yet, but that doesn't mean they're not out there. One day, we will find life elsewhere in the universe, and when we do, it will change our world forever. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more updates on all things space. Also, check out this video next. They're big, they're bold, and they come from outer space. We're talking about cosmic rays. These high-energy particles hit Earth constantly, but where exactly they come from has remained one of the biggest mysteries in astrophysics for decades. However, after launching the world's largest and most powerful space telescope, researchers may finally be able to track down these extraterrestrial interlopers. We've known about cosmic rays since the late 19th century, but scientists are still trying to figure out what exactly they are, where they come from, and how they accelerate to such high energies. According to NASA, cosmic rays make up 85% of all radiation that hits our planet from space. That might sound like a lot, but it's not actually that much. About 10,000 cosmic ray particles hit every square meter of Earth's surface every minute, and luckily for us, they're mostly made up of protons. The rest is mostly atomic nuclei with a smattering of electrons and other subatomic particles called muons. But while we know that cosmic rays are mostly made up of these protons and nuclei, we don't know where they come from or how they get accelerated to such high energies. It's like trying to figure out where the water is coming from in a house by looking only at the pipes inside the walls. You might be able to trace the pipes back to the various rooms in the house, but that doesn't tell you anything about where the water itself is coming from. In the case of cosmic rays, there are several popular ideas about where they come from, but unfortunately, each of those ideas presents its own problems. One idea is that supernovae explosions are responsible for accelerating cosmic rays to high energies. Supernovae are the explosive deaths of stars, usually massive ones, and they are truly astronomical in scale, releasing more energy in a single day than the Sun will in its entire 10 billion-year lifespan. When a star goes supernova, it blasts its outer layers into space at nearly 30,000 kilometers per second. This shock wave remains and expands for thousands of years, compressing and accelerating charged particles along the way. Given enough time, those particles can reach relativistic speeds. There are also stellar winds to consider. Unlike a supernova, which is a relatively short-lived explosion, stellar winds are more like sneezes. Stars sneeze out streams of charged particles constantly. That includes our Sun, which is currently in the midst of a maximum solar activity period called a solar maximum. During solar maximum, our Sun is supercharged and prone to releasing lots of radiation, including solar flares and coronal mass ejections. CMEs are huge bubbles of plasma that eject from the Sun and hurtle through space. At 1,600 kilometers per second, they arrive at Earth's orbit every couple of years. Luckily, they are magnetically charged so they don't directly damage the satellites and astronauts floating up there. Instead, they cause beautiful auroras at the North and South Poles here on Earth, so stellar winds and supernovae seem like good candidates for accelerating cosmic rays, but observations suggest that they can't be the whole story. First of all, the particles in these stellar explosions tend to have a relatively low energy compared to most cosmic rays. Also, the sources of cosmic rays appear to be distributed throughout the galaxy, and if you look at the map of the galaxy from above, it's not like there's a bunch of supernovae and stellar winds randomly popping off everywhere. In fact, most stars are pretty quiet. Our galaxy is mostly empty space. So, it's hard to see how supernovae and stellar winds could be responsible for most of the cosmic rays hitting Earth if the sources of those phenomena are so sparsely distributed. And then there's the problem of cosmic ray confinement. As cosmic rays race through space, they interact with stuff, bumping into atoms and scattering in random directions. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem. After all, space is full of atoms. But if there aren't many atoms around, a cosmic ray can bounce around for a really long time before it hits something, which means it might stay trapped in our galaxy for millions of years. Scientists estimate that supernovae and stellar winds should accelerate about 10 times fewer cosmic rays than we observe, which means something else must be accelerating them. Enter active galactic nuclei, or AGN. These are regions near the center of galaxies where there is an extremely bright and compact source of energy, and we think those are powered by supermassive black holes. Almost all galaxies have one of these, including our very own Milky Way. Sagittarius, a star, is lurking at the center of the Milky Way right now, weighing in at about 4 million times the mass of our Sun. The matter surrounding this black hole forms an accretion disk. And as the material in that disk spirals inward, it accelerates to unimaginable speeds and heats up to millions of degrees Celsius. All that energy radiates into space, and it carries a substantial amount of angular momentum with it. It's thought that when a bunch of material falls onto a supermassive black hole, it forms a powerful jet that shoots out of the galaxy like a cosmic fire hose. Some of those jets point directly at Earth, and according to NASA, AGN jets are probably responsible for at least some of the ultra-high energy cosmic rays that smash into our planet. That is because jets contain a lot of energy, and they are more tightly beamed than the comparatively unfocused radiation from supernovae and stellar winds. So AGN seem like they could explain the origin of cosmic rays. There's just one problem. As the jets move away from the galaxy, they interact with the intergalactic medium, or IGM. The IGM is basically the gas between galaxies, and it's not like a vacuum, but it's not like the dense, thick air that we're used to breathing either. If the jets run into a dense patch of the IGM, that could slow them down, which might explain why the highest energy cosmic rays are rare. That's because if the jets slow down, they won't have enough energy left over to accelerate particles to the highest possible velocities. Of course, just because something seems to fit the bill doesn't mean it's actually the answer. Scientists need to find evidence to support this hypothesis. Unfortunately, tracing these cosmic rays back to their source is no easy task. Space is really, really big, and most of the universe is really, really empty. It's like trying to figure out where a cough originated in a stadium full of 100,000 people, most of whom are silent. The odds of hearing the cough and knowing exactly who did it are slim, but scientists may have found a way to improve their listening skills. Last month, researchers launched the world's largest and most powerful space telescope in hopes of studying things that are really far away. They're calling it the Square Kilometer Array, or Square Kilometer Array. It's made up of 197 radio telescopes spread across 86 different locations in South Africa and Australia. That makes it almost twice the size of the next largest radio telescope. And together, those dishes act as one giant telescope, giving it a total collecting area of 197 square kilometers, hence the name. According to the team behind the project, SKA is so sensitive that it will be able to detect a human hair at the distance of the Moon from Earth. They say it should be able to image transient events like fast radio bursts with unprecedented precision. Fast radio bursts are one of the strangest phenomena in modern astronomy. We've only discovered them in the last decade or so, and, as their name suggests, they are extremely brief bursts of radio waves. FRBs typically last less than a millisecond, yet they cover billions of light-years, which makes them incredibly powerful. And here's the thing, a lot of scientists think FRBs might be coming from AGN. SKA should be able to measure things related to AGN jets in greater detail than ever before, which might help astronomers pin down where cosmic rays are coming from. And even if it can't prove that AGN are responsible for cosmic rays, SKA should be able to rule out other potential sources. The morale of the story is that the search for the sources of cosmic rays is about to enter a whole new era. We've known about cosmic rays for over a century, and scientists have proposed a lot of ideas about where they come from. But we may finally be able to put those hypotheses to the test. With any luck, we'll have answers soon. Thanks for watching this episode of SCI Show Space. If you want to help keep this content free for everyone forever, you can join our community on a crowdfunding platform. It's like everyone just woke up one day and all of a sudden they're sharing memories that didn't happen. It sounds crazy, but it's not exactly an uncommon experience. You may have had this strange conversation with a friend where you both swear something happened to you in childhood. but you just can't seem to agree on what exactly that was. You could be sharing stories about your past, both equally confident in your memories, when all of a sudden one of you says something that makes the other question everything they thought they knew. How is it possible for two people who were so close to share such different memories? Have you guys ever experienced this before? Let me know in the comments below. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here to tell you about the Mandela effect, which refers to masses of people who all share the same incorrect memory of an event or detail. These false memories can be personal, or they can be shared by entire groups of people who never seem to agree on what actually happened. The term Mandela effect was coined in 2009 by Fiona Broom, a paranormal researcher from South Africa. According to her research, the name comes from the widespread false memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. Now, while there are many theories about why people might be misremembering things, Fiona Broom believes that these false memories are the result of alternate realities bleeding through to our own. This might sound pretty far-fetched to some of you, but there are plenty of examples of the Mandela effect that have left researchers scratching their heads. Here are just a few of the most bizarre cases. The Berenstain Bears. For anyone who grew up watching children's television in the late 20th century, you may recognize the characters known as the Berenstain Bears. They were part of a series of books written by Stan and Jan Berenstain which ran for over 30 years. The books and subsequent TV show followed the adventures of Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Brother Bear, and Sister Bear as they taught children valuable life lessons. But if you're trying to explain the show to a friend, you may get a little confused. That is because many people who grew up with the show claim that the family's name was actually Berenstain Bears, not Berenstain. And according to the official website, the creators of the show never used the word Berenstain at all. While this theory has its supporters, the majority of evidence points to the contrary. Even the copyright page of the original book credits the creators as Stan and Jan Berenstain. The Monopoly Man's Monocle. There's another strange example of the Mandela effect that you might find yourself discussing with friends sometime down the road. That would be the Monopoly Man's Monocle. As we all know, the Monopoly Man is easily one of the most iconic figures in tabletop gaming history. He's become such a well-known part of popular culture that his image has been used to sell everything from board games to Halloween masks. But the image we all know and love may not even be accurate. A quick Google search will bring up countless images of the Monopoly Man wearing a top hat and sporting a monocle. However, none of the official Monopoly merchandise seems to include the monocle. While many believe that this is simply a case of misremembering an accessory that wasn't even there, others think that there may be something more to the story. Proponents of the Mandela effect believe that the image we have of the Monopoly Man in our collective consciousness may come from an alternate reality where the character did indeed wear a monocle. Curious George spanking. Kids are naturally curious, but there's one thing that they should never stick their hand in: an electrical socket. If you grew up reading Curious George, you probably remember the classic story in which the mischievous monkey sticks his hand in an outlet and gets zapped. But this story isn't included in any of the original Curious George books. The tale of Curious George getting an electric shock was actually invented in 1968 by a man named Jesse Bishop. At the time, he was working as a writer for the Boston Herald newspaper and wanted to pen a story that would help prevent childhood electrocutions. When he wrote the story, he had no intention of publishing it under the Curious George brand, but after it appeared in Reader's Digest, people began to assume that it was part of the series. So much so that copies of the story were even distributed to police and fire departments across America. But despite its popularity, the story was never included in any official Curious George collection. So where did all of those readers get their wires crossed? Well, the truth is that Jesse Bishop's story is actually quite similar to an incident that occurred in real life. On November 13, 1945, a 3-year-old girl named Mary Jane Kettering accidentally stuck her finger in an electrical outlet. She suffered severe burns, but thankfully she was able to make a full recovery. Jesse Bishop read about the incident in the newspaper and felt inspired to write a story of his own, though it's unlikely that he realized at the time that the story would end up being permanently seared into the minds of children everywhere. The Thanksgiving Turkey. In the United States, Thanksgiving is one of the most beloved holidays of the year. Families and friends get together to enjoy a delicious meal of turkey, stuffing, gravy, and cranberry sauce. But in recent years, some people have begun to question whether they've been misremembering one crucial aspect of the Thanksgiving tradition. Did turkeys always wear pilgrim hats? For decades, pictures of turkeys wearing top hats and holding canes were commonly featured in greeting cards and advertisements for Thanksgiving. But today, such images are extremely rare. Some people insist that these images are proof that the Thanksgiving turkey never wore a hat, but others think it's evidence of the Mandela effect. After all, how could so many Americans have been fooled into believing that the Thanksgiving turkey wore a hat? Well, the truth is that the turkey never did wear a hat. These false memories appear to have originated in the early days of Thanksgiving celebrations, when wild turkeys would be brought into town for the festivities. People who saw the birds being carried into the market may have assumed that they were wearing hats when in reality they had simply gotten their heads stuck in some nearby shrubbery. Regardless of how these memories came to be, it's safe to say that no one is going to confuse a wild turkey for a pilgrim anytime soon. The Game of Life board game. Few board games have captured the hearts and minds of children around the world quite like the Game of Life. Since its release in 1960, it's given kids everywhere the opportunity to live out their dreams of becoming wealthy, happy adults. Well, at least that's how it goes in theory. In reality, the game is a lot more like a metaphor for life, teaching children that unexpected things can happen at any moment, such as getting married, having a baby, or losing your job. But while the basic premise of the game remains the same, some of its finer details have changed over the years. For example, the card tokens originally included a Volkswagen Beetle, a Ford Thunderbird, and a Chevrolet Corvette. But in later editions, these were replaced with a station wagon, a pickup truck, and a van. Despite these changes, many players swear that they always played with Beetles, Thunderbirds, and Corvettes. So which one of them is wrong? Well, that depends on when you played the game. Before 1972, the game pieces were 3 brightly colored cars, but that all changed when Milton Bradley sold the rights to Hasbro. The new owners made a number of changes to the game, including replacing the cars with generic vehicles. While this may have been disappointing for some fans of the old version, it's nothing compared to the changes made in 1998 when Hasbro released a version of the game that taught children about the dangers of drunk driving. Instead of moving around the board normally, players who chose to drink alcohol were given special drunky glasses to wear while they attempted to navigate the board. Which of these examples do you think is the best evidence of the Mandela effect? Is it possible for 2 people to genuinely believe they experienced the same event that never took place? Or are all of these examples simply the result of selective memory? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that like button. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more content. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. In this video, we're going to look at how the Chaco Canyon ancestral Puebloans mapped the heavens into stone. The term ancestral Puebloan refers to a prehistoric culture that lived in the southwestern United States from about 550 to 1300 AD. They are best known for their remarkable cliff dwellings, such as those found at Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon. But their most well-known structures are actually great houses. These large buildings were ceremonial centers used for religious rituals and astronomical alignments. 2 of these great houses stand out above the rest, Pueblo Bonito and Chetroquetl. Both of these structures have been observed to align with certain stars and constellations. However, exactly how they did this is still a bit of a mystery. We are going to focus on one room in particular in order to really get down to the details of what has been observed. This room is called the star room because its walls contain several niches which appear to be perfectly placed to line up with certain stars and constellations, including Pleiades, Aldebaran, and Sirius. And, as I mentioned earlier, there are two main great houses with star rooms. So when it comes to the star rooms, there are 4 total, 2 in each building. One of these rooms is the star room in Chetroquetl, and the other is the star room in Pueblo Bonito. The first observations of these rooms came in the early 20th century by a man named J. Paul Taylor. He was a local rancher who was very familiar with the land around Chaco Canyon. He noticed some peculiar things about the ruins and decided to investigate. He published his findings in a book called The First Americans and Their Origins, where he proposed that the Chaco Canyon people were highly skilled astronomers who deliberately designed their buildings to align with the stars. He believed that these alignments were used for religious purposes, possibly as a way to communicate with the gods or to predict the future. His theory was largely ignored until the 1960s when a team of archaeologists led by the famous explorer and archaeologist Mary Cosner rediscovered the site. They confirmed Taylor's observations and began excavating the site. They found evidence that the Chaco Canyon people had been living there for hundreds of years and that they had built some of the most impressive structures in the ancient world. It should also be noted that there are many other features at the site that point to their keen understanding of astronomy. For example, there are alignments with solstices and equinoxes, as well as other astronomical phenomena such as comets. There is also evidence that the Chaco Canyon people kept detailed records of astronomical events and used them to predict things like the planting and harvesting seasons. It's important to note that the Chaco Canyon people were not the only ones who did this. Other cultures around the world, such as the Mayans in Central America, also built structures that aligned with celestial bodies. However, the Chaco Canyon people were likely the most advanced of these cultures due to their sophisticated understanding of astronomy and their ability to construct such large and complex structures. Now, you may be wondering why this is so significant. Well, it just goes to show how advanced these ancient cultures were. They didn't just randomly build these structures. Instead, they spent countless hours planning and constructing them with great care and precision. They had a deep understanding of mathematics and engineering, and they knew how to use these skills to create something truly remarkable. But here's where things get even more interesting. We don't know how they actually did it. There are a lot of theories out there, but no one knows for sure. How did they manage to create such precise alignments? What tools did they use? And how did they transmit their knowledge from one generation to the next? These are all questions that scientists and historians are still trying to answer. For example, one theory suggests that the Chaco Canyon people used simple tools such as ropes and plumb bobs to create their alignments. A plumb bob is basically a weight on a string that is used to make sure that something is perfectly vertical. Another theory suggests that they used more advanced tools such as the gnomon. A gnomon is basically a vertical stick or pole that casts a shadow and can be used to measure the position of the sun in the sky. They could have also used more complex tools such as astrolabes and quadrants to measure angles and positions of stars. These tools allowed astronomers to track the movements of the stars and planets and predict their positions for future dates. The Chaco Canyon people likely used these tools in conjunction with their knowledge of mathematics to calculate the positions of the stars and then built their structures accordingly. Of course, we don't have any written records from the Chaco Canyon people, so we can only speculate about how they did it. It's also possible that they used a combination of tools and techniques that we don't even know about yet. Another question that has been pondered by many is whether or not the Chaco Canyon people were influenced by other cultures, such as the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians. After all, these cultures were also advanced, and they also had a deep understanding of astronomy. However, there is no evidence to suggest that the Chaco Canyon people had any contact with these cultures. It's more likely that they developed their astronomical knowledge independently through observation and experimentation. There are also various speculations regarding the star rooms themselves. Some believe that they were used as residences for the most important members of the community, such as chiefs or priests. Others believe that they were used as storage rooms for important items, such as food or sacred objects. However, there is no evidence to support either of these theories. The truth is, we simply don't know what they were used for. This is really where things get exciting because it leaves a lot of room for speculation. Could it be that the star rooms were used as homes for the elite class of Chaco Canyon society? Maybe they were used as temples, where priests would perform rituals and ceremonies related to the stars and constellations. Or perhaps they were used as classrooms where the Chaco Canyon people taught their children about astronomy and other subjects. It's also possible that they were used for all of these purposes and more. What we do know is that the Chaco Canyon people were highly skilled builders and astronomers, and that they left behind a legacy that continues to amaze us today. The star rooms are just one example of their ingenuity and curiosity about the world around them. They remind us that ancient cultures were capable of great things, and that we should never stop exploring the mysteries of our universe. Whether you're an amateur astronomer, an architecture enthusiast, or just someone who loves learning about ancient cultures, the story of the Chaco Canyon ancestral Puebloans is sure to fascinate you. So be sure to check it out and learn more about these amazing people and their incredible achievements. You might be surprised at what you discover. So what do you think? How do you think the Chaco Canyon people managed to align their structures with such precision? And what do you think the star rooms were used for? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm always eager to hear your ideas and perspectives on these fascinating topics. And if you're interested in learning more about archaeology and historical mysteries, be sure to subscribe. I've got a ton of videos covering all sorts of fascinating topics that are sure to keep you entertained and informed. From ancient artifacts to long-lost civilizations, I've got something for everyone. So what are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button and join me on my channel. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. The Gulf Breeze UFO Photographs. In November of 1987, the Pensacola News-Journal published these photographs that were taken by a resident from a small town in Florida called Gulf Breeze. The photos immediately gained national attention, with many believing they were proof of extraterrestrial life, and others claiming they were the biggest hoax since the War of the Worlds broadcast. But after decades, nobody has been able to prove or disprove what really happened in Gulf Breeze. So, what are your thoughts? Are these photos evidence of an extraterrestrial spacecraft, or is there a more down-to-earth explanation? Let me know in the comments below. As always, this channel takes a deep dive into the strange, mysterious, and paranormal. And now we investigate the truth behind the most famous UFO photographs ever captured. It all began one evening when a man named Ed Walters was driving home from work. As he approached his neighborhood, he noticed some bright lights descending from the sky. He stopped his car and watched as the objects slowly floated over his house. The next night he saw them again, so he grabbed his wife's camera and snapped some photos. One of those pictures showed something hovering over their driveway. It looked like a large flying saucer about 30 feet across with lights outlining its rim. Other strange details included what appeared to be rows of windows along the side and a brilliant white light coming from beneath the object. Although Walter's first instinct was to call the police, he decided against it, assuming it was just a military craft of some kind. But the following night, the objects returned again, and with camera in hand, Walters went out to capture the spectacle. He took 4 photographs. These were later published in the local newspaper. But the mystery didn't end there. During the next few months, there were numerous reports of strange lights and objects seen in the skies above Gulf Breeze. Then, in June of 1988, another resident managed to snap a photo of an object floating through the clouds. Many witnesses came forward with stories of their own, describing the same things they had seen in the photos. Even law enforcement officials admitted to seeing the strange lights. Within weeks, the town was buzzing with talk of aliens. The photos themselves were impressive, showing something that couldn't easily be dismissed as a misidentification or trick of the light. Of course, skeptics claimed that the photos could have been faked with models and miniature spaceships, but nobody could deny that the sky in the background was filled with stars. Surely, if this was some kind of elaborate hoax, the people in Gulf Breeze weren't the only ones involved. There must have been dozens of accomplices needed to make it happen. And yet, not a single person came forward with information that would have busted the whole thing wide open. Then, there were the actual physical details of the photos. They were printed on regular photographic paper with no special effects added. Also, the film had been bought from a local store, clearly marked with the date and time of purchase, and there were no photos of anything strange on any of the other rolls. These were legitimate photos taken on legitimate film with a legitimate camera. So, was the story over? Was this simply a case of unidentified flying objects doing the impossible and visiting our world? Well, the opposite actually happened. The case grew even more bizarre when the Florida Department of Law Enforcement became involved. According to the report written by investigator Steve Jones, the images were unusual enough to warrant scientific analysis. That's why the FDLE sent the negatives to their forensic department for processing. Their conclusion: the photos were indeed genuine. However, they also claimed that there was no physical evidence left behind to support the existence of an alien spaceship, meaning the craft had probably been about 24 inches from the camera when the photos were taken. This distance made it impossible to determine exactly what the object was, although they did rule out airplanes, helicopters, weather balloons, and satellites. However, one detail stuck out as odd. When the investigators attempted to measure the size of the object in the photos using standard techniques, they kept getting different results. They tried using the size of the trees in the background, but the objects changed size. Then they used the size of a car parked near Ed Walters' house, but that didn't work either. No matter what they tried, the measurements were all over the place. This is where things get weird because as the investigation continued, the story didn't just grow, it fractured. New witnesses came forward with new details, creating more questions than answers. For example, many of the witnesses claimed the objects were silent, while others said they heard a loud humming noise. Some reported seeing blue lights, while others saw red. Some said they observed cigar-shaped vehicles, while others said they saw discs. And then there were the physical manifestations. Yes, according to several residents, the ground around Gulf Breeze was littered with shiny metal fragments. Some witnesses even collected pieces of debris, which they stored in plastic bags until authorities could come collect them. However, when the FDLE arrived to gather the evidence, they found nothing. Nobody had any idea where the supposed space debris had gone. In fact, the lead investigator, Steve Jones, said that he never even saw the metal fragments for himself. Now, to be fair, there were other intriguing reports as well. People described seeing beams of light in the sky, objects that moved at impossible speeds, and even strange-looking footprints left behind in the sand. One witness even reported finding an unusual rock monolith. It had perfectly smooth edges and sides, which indicated that it had been manufactured rather than occurring naturally. Unfortunately, before the FDLE could investigate further, the monolith vanished. Just like the metallic fragments, nobody knew where it went. Perhaps the strangest case of all belonged to a local veterinarian named Dr. Robert Haggins. One night, while driving home from work, he encountered something strange in the road. At first he thought it was a cow, but it didn't move like an animal should. It just stood still, staring straight ahead. Curiosity got the better of him, so he drove closer. That's when he saw it was unlike any creature he had ever seen before. Standing about 4 feet tall, it resembled a skeleton wearing a skin-tight silver suit. When Hagen turned on his car's headlights, the creature suddenly ran away. Before long, the FDLE had interviewed over 100 people. Did they find conclusive evidence of extraterrestrial activity? Of course not. After poring over all the details, they released a statement saying that they could not explain the photographs, but they couldn't prove that aliens were behind them either. In other words, The case remained officially unsolved, and it has never been reopened. So, what's the truth? Were the photos taken of a flying saucer? Did aliens visit Gulf Breeze in the 1980s? Well, nobody knows. Some believe that the entire event was a mass hallucination, while others claim there was a cover-up. Still, the photos remain compelling and raise more questions than answers. How is it that so many people saw the same thing and took a legitimate photograph of an unknown object? Why did the FDLE stop investigating the case after failing to find any physical evidence? What happened to the mysterious metallic fragments and the strange rock monolith? Most importantly, how can we prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that what was seen in the skies above Gulf Breeze was an extraterrestrial spacecraft? The sad reality is that we can't answer any of these questions, but we can share the evidence and let you decide what really happened. After all, maybe the skies do hold visitors from far-off worlds, and maybe they don't want to be found. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, please subscribe for more updates. We investigate the strange, mysterious, and paranormal, and we'd love for you to join us. Thanks for watching. Are we being stalked by an elusive nocturnal creature that leaves behind no tracks? Have you ever heard of cattle mutilations? For decades, ranchers have found their livestock drained of blood, seemingly without cause. But why would a predator drain an animal of its life essence and leave the rest of its body untouched? And could there be something lurking out there beyond our perception that is stalking us as we speak? Before we dive into this horrifying topic, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. With that said, let's begin. In the remote ranches of the American West, the mutilated carcasses of cows have become a haunting sight. The story begins with Sheriff Wayne Rainey from Rio Arriba County, New Mexico, who in 1975 was called to a ranch where a cow had been found dead, lying on its side, its stomach cavity completely empty as if it had been hollowed out like a jack-o'-lantern. Initially, he assumed the work of a coyote, or maybe a bear. However, what he saw next shocked him. The animal's heart, lungs, and other vital organs were missing. It wasn't just a random act of violence or scavenging. It was a precise surgical procedure. This case was just the tip of the iceberg. As word spread through the tight-knit community of local ranchers, others came forward with similar stories of their own animals found drained of blood and nutrients. Unlike conventional animal attacks, there were no footprints, no struggle, no witnesses, and no predators. All they found were strange markings around the carcass, which at first glance appeared almost alien-like. This perplexing pattern seemed to baffle the investigators as they struggled to make sense of the bizarre crime scene. What kind of creature could perform such a clean extraction without leaving a trace? Was it even a creature, or something more sinister? As more reports trickled in, a chilling trend emerged. These mutilations weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a larger mystery that had been haunting these lands for years. The missing body parts and the eerie silence around the killings hinted at a secret lurking in the shadows. Was there a hidden menace stalking the night, preying on these innocent animals and evading capture? Some blamed cults, citing their penchant for macabre rituals. But why drain the animal without taking the rest of the body? Others pointed fingers at mad scientists seeking rare components for their dark experiments. But why leave the body intact if the intention was to dissect it? Even government agencies were brought into the conversation, with some believing that they might be dealing with bioweapon testing gone wrong. But this theory seemed far-fetched as well. As the investigation deepened, a new player entered the scene, renowned cryptozoologist Loren Coleman. He had dedicated his life to studying hidden animals and was intrigued by the mutilation case. Coleman's arrival marked a shift in the narrative. Could there be a cryptid, a creature from local folklore, behind these heinous acts? Was this the moment when myth would collide with reality? Coleman delved deep into the local legends and tales, hoping to find a mythical beast that could match the gruesome description of the attacks. Was he on the verge of uncovering a truth so unsettling it could rewrite the laws of nature itself? But before he could delve deeper, Another piece of evidence surfaced, a witness account from a terrified young woman who claimed to have seen something unearthly during one of the attacks. Her testimony was the missing link, the thread that wove the mystery together. But what had she witnessed, and how would it change everything? Her story unfolded like a nightmare straight out of a horror movie. One fateful night, while tending to her late-night chores, she saw a horrific sight. Standing over a freshly killed cow was a creature unlike anything she could have imagined. Its eyes glowed an eerie red in the darkness, and its very presence seemed to suck the warmth from the air. She described it as tall, thin, and hairless, with skin that glistened like wet concrete and oddly short fingers. To top it off, it walked on two legs and moved with an unnatural grace. Her words painted a vivid picture of a terrifying creature, one that seemed straight out of a fantasy novel. But there was nothing fantastical about the fear that gripped her as she watched this horror unfold before her eyes. She knew instinctively that she was witnessing something truly sinister, something that defied the boundaries of the ordinary. But that wasn't all. As she stood, frozen in fear, she saw something even more disturbing. The creature, with a speed that was both shocking and terrifying, began to tear into the carcass, ripping out chunks of flesh with a loud crunching sound. It was a primal display of hunger and aggression, a feast of blood and guts under the cloak of the night. She watched in horror as the creature gorged itself, its movements swift and precise. It was clear that this was no ordinary animal. This was a predator that had honed its skills to perfection. But what was this creature, and where did it come from? Was it a new species, one that had somehow managed to remain hidden from human eyes for so long? Or was it an ancient being that had somehow returned to our world? The witness's story sent shockwaves through the community. Her description of the creature was too vivid, too detailed to be dismissed as mere fantasy. It was a chilling tale that left everyone wondering if they were truly alone in a world that was rapidly unraveling before their eyes. The question on everyone's lips now was, how could something so monstrous exist right under their noses and yet remain hidden? The answer, they feared, could shatter the very foundations of their reality. As news of the creature spread, panic began to set in. Ranchers barricaded themselves inside their homes at night, haunted by the thought of the glowing red eyes peering through the darkness. The once peaceful countryside became a battleground between man and monster. But what did the creature want, and why had it chosen this remote area as its hunting ground? Some whispered of an ancient curse, a vengeful spirit that had risen to punish the living. Others spoke of a dimensional rift, a tear in the fabric of space-time that allowed creatures from other realms to enter ours. But the most terrifying theory of all was that this was just the beginning. What if this creature was merely a scout, a forerunner of a greater invasion? What if there were more of them out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their moment to strike? The thought was enough to send shivers down the spine. As the full moon hung heavy in the night sky, the creature's presence loomed over the land like a dark cloud. The people huddled together, sharing stories and fears around flickering campfires. In the distance, a blood-curdling screech echoed through the valley, sending a fresh wave of terror crashing over them. They searched the skies, desperate to catch a glimpse of the monster, but it was nowhere to be seen. Yet they felt its presence all around them, watching, waiting, ready to strike. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The creature vanished into thin air, leaving behind an eerie silence that was more terrifying than any scream. Had it retreated back into the shadows, or was it simply biding its time until it could strike again? In the days that followed, the people tried to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, but the shadow of the creature loomed over them, a constant reminder of the horror that had unfolded. They went about their daily tasks with a newfound fear, their eyes constantly scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. But the creature was a master of disguise, a phantom that played hide-and-seek with their sanity. It taunted them with glimpses of its presence, a fleeting shadow here, a distant screech there, just beyond the reach of their sight and comprehension. As time went on, the sightings became more frequent, bolder, more terrifying. The creatures seemed to revel in their fear, growing stronger with each terrified gasp, each desperate prayer. Then one day, a young boy stumbled upon something that would change everything. While playing near the river, he found a strange rock monolith, covered in strange symbols and markings. At first, he thought it was just another rock, a child's imagination running wild. But as he looked closer, he realized that this was no ordinary stone. It was a message from the creature, a declaration of its presence. Could this be the key to unraveling the mystery? What secrets did the monolith hold, and what connection did it have to the terrifying creature that haunted their dreams? As the discovery spread, a team of experts was called in: archaeologists, linguists, and cryptozoologists, all eager to shed light on this cryptic puzzle. But as they delved deeper into the mystery, they uncovered a truth that threatened to consume them all. The markings on the monolith were not just random symbols. They were an ancient language, a language that spoke of an otherworldly being that existed beyond human understanding. A being that had come to this world to claim what was rightfully theirs. The implications of this discovery were staggering. They were not dealing with a mere animal or a crazed cult member. They were facing something infinitely more terrifying, an extraterrestrial entity with an insatiable hunger for flesh. The question now was, what would they do to stop it? Would they be able to defend themselves against a creature that seemed straight out of a science fiction nightmare? Or were they doomed to live in a world where monsters walked among them? The fate of the world hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of oblivion. As the people prepared for the ultimate showdown, they knew that they were about to enter a battle that would determine the course of their lives forever. So, what do you think? Is there a creature lurking in your shadow? Let me know in the comments below. A forest is full of sounds. The wind rustling through the leaves, birds singing for their mate or warning of danger, and crickets chirping as they wait for their dinner to gobble up by sleepy humans. But there's one sound that isn't heard every night: the synchronous flashing of hundreds of male fireflies, all at once. In certain forests in the U.S. and around the world, fireflies have been observed flashing together in what looks like a grand light show. And it turns out the flashing patterns are so precise, other animals like bats use them as a navigation tool. But even though this has been happening for hundreds of years, we don't know exactly why. Take the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Here, every summer evening, thousands of synchronous fireflies gather in meadows near the Elkmont campground and flash in what appears to be a giant dance. The fireflies blink in unison, turning the twilight forest floor into a sparkling stage. And while they only do this for about 2 hours, the flashing continues until almost every firefly in the area is participating. And it's not just fireflies. Synchronous flashing has also been observed in different species of beetles and even fungi, so it's not like it's some weird firefly thing. But since it's so hard to study non-human communication, especially when they're doing it in the middle of the woods, we still haven't gotten to the bottom of the why. There are 3 main hypotheses for why insects might want to flash in time with each other. The first one is to confuse predators. It's called the confusion or mimicry hypothesis. When insects are all flashing at the same time, it's much harder for predators like bats to figure out where each individual insect is. So the whole group can get away. But there are a few problems with this idea. For one thing, bats aren't the main predator of fireflies. They prefer other insects like moths and only eat fireflies occasionally. Plus, if you look at the flashing patterns of fireflies around the world, you'll see that they don't all do this confusing flash thing. If it was an anti-bat defense, then you would expect to see more fireflies using the tactic, especially in places where bats are more common. But that's not the case. Not only do most fireflies flash at random, but some fireflies that do flash in groups, like the red-bellied fireflies in Japan, don't even do it in a way that confuses bats. Their flashes are timed perfectly, but they're all different colors. So this doesn't make sense if the goal is to avoid being eaten. Another problem with the confusion hypothesis is that the flashing patterns often continue after the sun goes down, meaning there's no risk of predators spotting them at all. In those cases, the fireflies could just be showing off. Well, kind of. This brings us to our second hypothesis, attracting mates. Most fireflies only flash to attract potential partners, and it makes sense that they'd want to get noticed, especially in a crowded forest. But there's a bit of a problem here too. See, firefly mating rituals usually involve a fair bit of back and forth. The female will normally flash back and forth a couple of times before choosing her favorite suitor. But during the synchronous flashing, the females aren't doing any flashing at all. They're just sitting there looking pretty, which means they're not giving any hints as to which male they might be interested in. Plus, males normally flash different colors depending on their species, but during synchronous flashing, they're all emitting the same color light. This makes it hard to tell who's who, which makes it unlikely that females could find a mate in these conditions. There's also the fact that the timing of the synchronous flashing doesn't seem to correspond to when fireflies are normally active. Instead, it seems to follow the lunar cycle. In the Great Smoky Mountains, the peak of the firefly season lasts from late June to mid-July, right around the summer solstice, when the nights are warmest and there's lots of light pollution from the nearby city of Knoxville. In other places, the flashing happens at different times of the year, but it follows the same pattern of only occurring during warm, moonlit nights. Like it's not just temperature that matters, it's also got to be dark enough for the light show to be visible. This leads us to our third hypothesis, which is that the flashing is really a response to environmental cues like moonlight and temperature. If that's true, it probably means the fireflies are getting their signals crossed. Because remember, fireflies can't hear music, but they can pick up on light waves within a certain range. So the light from the moon and the stars is probably triggering them to start flashing. Once they begin flashing, they might be picking up on the flashes of their neighbors, which prompts them to keep going. Eventually, this ends up with dozens or even hundreds of fireflies flashing together in perfect unison. Now, this idea makes sense given that there are other examples of insects that use moonlight as their own internal clock. But it does beg the question of why. Why would the moonlight affect their behavior? And scientists think it could have something to do with temperature. See, while we think of the moon as a source of light, it's actually reflecting the sun's rays, so the brightness of the moon changes throughout the night as it moves through the phases. But even on a cloudy night, the moon can still emit a small amount of light, and that light helps regulate the temperature of the night. When the moon is bright, nocturnal animals like orb-weaving spiders can maintain a stable body temperature during their active hours, which means they can be more active. That extra activity allows them to build webs faster and capture more food before sunrise. But not only can the moonlight help animals stay warm, it can also help them stay cool. During the summer, the moon can actually protect animals from overheating. Take the broad-horned beetle. These beetles spend the day hiding under leaves in the hot sun. But when the moon shines through the trees, it creates pockets of cooler temperatures where the beetles can take a break from sweating and regulate their body temperature. So it's possible that the moon is helping fireflies stay cool during their nightly flash mobs, which keeps them from overheating and dying. Scientists are still trying to determine if the temperature hypothesis is correct, so maybe you could help. There's a citizen science project led by the National Park Service that asks people to report sightings of synchronous fireflies in the Great Smoky Mountains. Your reports will help scientists better understand when and where these synchronized flashes occur, and maybe your observations could shed some light on this long-standing mystery. Now, if you want to learn more about mysterious natural phenomena, you should check out the playlist of SCI Show videos available for free on a streaming platform. We've already covered topics like frozen frogs that rain from the sky, glowing waterfalls, and the deadly allergy that killed a U.S. president. And we have lots of other fascinating episodes to choose from. Thanks for watching and learning with us. But one thing's for sure, the next time you see an ant, don't get too close because it could be infected with the zombie ant fungus. What? It turns out there is such a thing as zombies and they're in your backyard. But this is nature we're talking about, which means things are even more messed up than they sound. So how do these fungal parasites work? How does the fungus control its victims? And why should you care? This is the terrifying story of the zombie ant fungus. In recent decades, scientists have discovered over 600 species of Ophiocordyceps. They're often named after horror movie villains like Freddy Krueger or Hannibal Lecter, which gives you some idea of what they're like. And despite their spooky names, the zombie ant fungus is actually everywhere. You can find it on every continent on Earth, deep in rainforest in your own backyard, and even right here in the lab. Yes, it's in the building, and if you don't believe me, let me show you. This specimen was found near St. Louis in Missouri. Here's another from Japan, and here's one from Argentina. Nope, not Brazil. This is from Argentina. That's just how widespread this parasite is. The spores land on the ants and begin to take over. Because unlike typical parasites, the corpus then needs to control the ants, turning them into real-life zombies. There are two main ways that the zombie ant fungus takes control. Some parasites wait until the colony has matured, then send signals to the queen to produce more of a chemical called oleic acid. This makes the ants hungrier, driving them to find food and bring it back to the nest. This provides energy for the growing fungus, turning the ants into what's known as a fruiting body. The fungus slowly replaces the insect's exoskeleton, turning it into something called a fruiting stalk. From there, the fungus begins to sprout, sending its spores out to infect more ants. The other strategy is far more sinister. Instead of waiting for the colony to mature, the fungus immediately begins to take over the individual ants. Corpus then releases special proteins that break down the insect's nervous system. Since corpus grows faster than the rest of the ant, it ends up wrapping around the insect's brain, taking full control. This means that once infected, the ant no longer acts like itself. Instead, it follows the commands of the fungus. Corpus can command the ants to gather food for the growing fungus, but it also starts to change the way they interact with the colony, tricking their fellow nestmates into thinking everything's okay. It's not just the ants that fall for it either. Infected fire ants even manage to fool scientists in the lab. When the team at the University of Texas observed their subjects, they noticed the infected ants were less active and seemed weak. But outside of that, they looked completely normal. The researchers even noted that the infected ants appeared to interact with their uninfected counterparts normally, meaning the corpus had successfully taken over. The zombification process can take days or even weeks to fully complete, but once it's done, the corpus can control the ants completely. It instructs them to bite down on a leaf or twig and hold it in a death grip. This creates a pedestal for the fruiting body to grow out of, anchoring it in place. Once the fungus is ready to spread, the corpus then compels the ants to take one final bite, locking their jaw in a permanent bite. At this point, the fungus has fully taken over. The entire colony is now under the control of the fruiting bodies, turning the ants into real-life zombies. And it gets even crazier. The fungus then instructs the dead ants to give the living ants a bite, which may sound unbelievable, but it happens all the time. Once the bite is complete, the zombification continues. Other uninfected ants are bitten and become infected themselves. It's basically a mass zombification event. That's why it's so important that you don't get too close to those ants you see in your backyard. If you get bit by an infected ant, you'll become infected yourself. Okay, just kidding. The zombie ant fungus isn't dangerous to humans, but it is deadly to ants. In fact, it's believed that corpus could be responsible for wiping out entire colonies of insects. Take, for example, the leaf-cutter ant. These giant ants get their name from their unusual habit of cutting leaves. They travel in groups, each carrying pieces of leaves back to their nest. There, they use the leaves to farm a special fungus, which they eat. But this farming practice makes them easy targets for the zombie ant fungus. As soon as the corpus takes over, the ants turn on their colony mates, eventually eating the queen. In the end, the entire colony is wiped out. Of course, things aren't always black and white in the natural world. There are cases where ants seem to fight back against the zombie ant fungus. For example, the fungus has been known to target the same species of ants that farm the leafcutter ant. These ants are known as the tamale ants because they farm the fungus as a protein source. So when the fungus takes over, it's unclear who's really in control. Some believe that the fungus is able to take over the ant by targeting the farmed fungus. They release chemicals that destroy the farmed fungus, forcing the ants to look elsewhere for food. In these cases, the ants seem to win. But that might not be the case for long. After all, the zombie ant fungus has already proven itself to be incredibly adaptable. In some cases, the fungus has learned to overcome the ant's defenses. And with 600 different species of Ophiocordyceps out there, who knows what other strategies the ants haven't evolved to defend against yet? That's why it's so important to study the zombie ant fungus. By learning how it works, we can learn how to fight back against similar parasites that affect humans. For example, the fungus releases chemicals called cyclopamine and tennicin. These chemicals help the fungus invade the nervous system and trigger zombification. But it turns out these chemicals can also be used to treat human diseases. One day, scientists hope to use these chemicals to treat neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Not only that, but studying the zombie ant fungus can teach us about fungal infections. That's why it's so important that we understand the corpus before it's too late. There are already signs that it's evolving, becoming stronger and spreading to new species of ants. That's why it's so important that we learn as much as possible. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be able to stop the rise of the zombies. Specimen use made possible by Herbarium. Thank you for watching this episode. And if you want to see more, just click here. The universe is vast and full of mysteries that continue to baffle and amaze us. One such phenomenon that has captured the attention of astronomers and scientists is fast radio bursts, or FRBs. These mysterious signals from deep space have left experts puzzled, wondering about their origin and meaning. Join us as we delve into the fascinating world of FRBs and explore what these cosmic whispers may reveal about the existence of extraterrestrial life. Fast radio bursts are sudden, intense, and brief releases of energy in the radio spectrum. They are truly remarkable occurrences that have left scientists both excited and perplexed. Since their discovery in 2001, only a handful of these bursts have been detected, making them incredibly rare and elusive phenomena. The study of FRBs is still in its infancy, but researchers are eager to uncover the secrets behind these powerful signals. What makes FRBs so intriguing is their immense power. These bursts can release as much energy as 700 million suns, making them some of the most energetic events known to occur outside of a supernova. Despite their incredible power, FRBs are incredibly short-lived, typically lasting only a few milliseconds. This fleeting nature makes them extremely difficult to detect and even harder to study. One of the most perplexing aspects of FRBs is their origin. The exact source of these bursts is still unknown, but they are believed to originate from distant galaxies. The signals are so weak by the time they reach Earth that it's almost impossible to determine their point of origin. However, recent advancements in technology have allowed astronomers to pinpoint the location of at least one FRB, providing valuable insights into its source. In 2020, an international team of researchers published a groundbreaking study that identified the host galaxy of FRB 12132, one of the first FRBs ever discovered. The study revealed that the burst originated from a highly magnetized, rapidly spinning neutron star known as a magnetar. This discovery provided crucial information about the nature of FRBs, and suggested that magnetars could be the key to unlocking these cosmic mysteries. Since then, astronomers have continued to explore the connection between magnetars and FRBs. In a recent study published in the journal Nature, researchers presented evidence that FRB 12102 had been active for at least 3 years, emitting bursts on a regular basis. This finding supports the magnetar model for FRB production and suggests that these enigmatic signals may be part of a more complex, long-term phenomenon. Despite these advancements, there is still much that we don't understand about FRBs. The exact mechanism by which magnetars produce these bursts is still unknown, and scientists are working hard to unravel the complexities of this process. The true nature of FRBs remains a captivating mystery. There are various theories regarding their origin, each offering a unique perspective on these perplexing signals. One prominent hypothesis suggests that FRBs may be produced by cataclysmic events such as supernovae, the death of massive stars that release tremendous amounts of energy into space. Supernovae are known for their explosive power, and it's theorized that the immense energy released during these events could be responsible for generating FRBs. Another intriguing theory proposes that FRBs may be linked to neutron-star mergers, the catastrophic collisions between two neutron stars that can occur when two highly magnetized stellar remnants merge. These mergers release enormous amounts of energy and could potentially generate the observed FRB signals. Additionally, some researchers believe that FRBs may be associated with extra-dimensional phenomena, suggesting that these bursts could originate from sources beyond our four-dimensional reality. While this theory remains highly speculative, it offers a glimpse into the unknown possibilities that lie beyond our current understanding of physics. No matter what their origins may be, fast radio bursts are a truly remarkable phenomenon that has captured the attention of astronomers and scientists around the world. These mysterious signals from deep space continue to baffle and amaze us, reminding us of the vastness and complexity of the universe. As researchers continue to explore the secrets behind FRBs, we can look forward to unraveling more of the cosmos mysteries and perhaps even discovering new forms of extraterrestrial life. The detection of fast radio bursts has opened up a new frontier in astronomy, raising exciting possibilities for what we might learn about the universe and our place within it. As technology advances, our ability to detect and study FRBs will improve, leading to a deeper understanding of these enigmatic signals. With each new discovery, we come closer to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos and the potential for finding life beyond our planet. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence has been a long-standing endeavor, with scientists actively seeking signs of life beyond Earth. The discovery of FRBs has added a new dimension to this search, providing a potential window into the minds of distant civilizations. Some scientists believe that FRBs may be the first signs of a cosmic conversation, whispers from distant stars that could contain messages from advanced alien species. While this idea remains highly speculative, it captures the imagination and fuels the desire to explore the unknown. The potential implications of discovering an extraterrestrial communication through FRBs are profound. It would revolutionize our understanding of the universe and our place within it. The detection of artificial signals amidst the vast expanse of space would confirm that we are not alone in the cosmos. It would open up new avenues of communication and collaboration, allowing us to learn from and connect with civilizations that have achieved a level of technological advancement far beyond our own. However, it's important to approach this topic with a sense of responsibility and caution. The idea of extraterrestrial life has the power to captivate and inspire, but it also comes with ethical considerations. If we were to detect signs of life elsewhere in the universe, it would be crucial to consider the potential impact on both humanity and the civilizations we encounter. We must proceed with respect and care, ensuring that any contact is conducted in a manner that is mutually beneficial and does not disrupt the delicate balance of our cosmic neighborhood. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, it's natural to wonder about the possibility of life beyond our planet. Fast radio bursts offer an intriguing window into the vast expanse of space and the potential for discovering extraterrestrial intelligence. While the search for extraterrestrial life through FRBs remains a highly speculative field, it captures the imagination and drives our curiosity to explore the unknown. The idea of receiving cosmic whispers from distant civilizations, though tantalizing, requires a balanced approach that considers both the excitement and the ethical implications involved. As technology advances and our understanding of the universe expands, we may one day uncover the secrets held within these mysterious signals. But until then, fast radio bursts will continue to captivate scientists and stargazers alike, reminding us of the boundless wonders that await our discovery. In conclusion, fast radio bursts are truly remarkable astronomical phenomena that have captivated the attention of scientists and space enthusiasts alike. These powerful yet fleeting signals from deep space continue to puzzle and amaze us, challenging our understanding of the universe and its mysteries. While the origin and purpose of FRBs remain unknown, they have opened up new possibilities for exploring the cosmos and searching for extraterrestrial life. As technology advances and our knowledge expands, we can look forward to unraveling more of the secrets held within these cosmic whispers. Whether they turn out to be natural occurrences or artificial transmissions from distant civilizations, fast radio bursts serve as a reminder of the boundless wonders that await our discovery. The vastness and complexity of the universe never cease to amaze us, and FRBs stand as a testament to the endless mysteries that lie beyond our planet. Thank you for joining us on this journey of cosmic exploration. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to stay updated on all our latest discoveries and space news. Together, let's continue to explore the wonders of the universe and the search for extraterrestrial life. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars and embracing the endless possibilities that lie within the vast expanse of space. In October of 2017, astronomers saw something strange in the night sky, an interstellar object that they've never seen before zooming through our solar system. For some people, this was the first interstellar object to be detected passing through our solar system. But for others, it was the first sign of an alien probe sent to observe humanity. So, what is the truth about Oumuamua? Is it a natural space rock or a manufactured alien spacecraft? We're going to need to go back to the beginning to answer this question. This is where our story begins. On October 19, 2017, the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System, or PAN-STARRS, was taking images of the night sky when it picked up an unusual object. At first, it looked like your typical comet, but as the days passed, scientists realized there was something different going on. As it got closer to the sun, it began to accelerate. But not only that, it was also changing direction. Scientists were soon able to get confirmation from other telescopes around the world, and the more they observed, the more it became clear that whatever this thing was, it was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Scientists began calling it Oumuamua, which in Hawaiian means scout or messenger. The first part of that definition seems fitting, because this is exactly what Oumuamua did. It brought an important message from the depths of interstellar space. It was the very first interstellar object ever discovered to be passing through our solar system. We know it came from outside the solar system because its path around the sun does not match any known comets or asteroids. Its path would have taken it far beyond Pluto long before it arrived here. Its speed suggests that it originated somewhere in the Alpha Centauri system. That's the closest star system to ours, located just over 4 light-years away. But how fast was this interstellar object moving? Well, according to NASA, it was traveling at a whopping 26 miles per second. That's almost 92,000 miles per hour. Unfortunately, astronomers don't know much about where it's headed next. After hurtling past Earth in 2018, it disappeared into the darkness of deep space. Some believe that it may one day pass close to another planet, while others think it will eventually leave our solar system for good. Either way, it's likely we won't see it again for millions of years. By now, you're probably wondering what makes this interstellar object so special. Why are we spending so much time talking about it? Well, there are 2 reasons for that. First, it gives us a unique opportunity to learn about objects from outside our solar system. Second, it has reignited debate about whether we're alone in the universe. Some people believe that Oumuamua could be evidence of alien life because they say it exhibits strange properties that can't be explained by science. So, what are these alleged strange properties? Let's take a look. For starters, this object seems to be extremely dense. While it's not bigger than a house, it weighs over 4 billion pounds, roughly the same as 100 million blue whales. This means that its density must be incredibly high. One researcher likened it to a piece of metal that's been dropped from great heights many times and has been worn smooth by the friction with the atmosphere. The second strange property is its shape. According to some researchers, the object looks like a long, flat slab, possibly even a hunk of metal. If this is true, then we may be dealing with artificial construction. Other astronomers argue that it could be a chunk of rock that broke off from a larger body and was tumbling through space until it reached our solar system. Either way, we need more data to understand what's really going on here. Now, let's talk about the third strange property. This is what's caused the most controversy: its acceleration. After entering our solar system, this object began speeding up rapidly. It approached the Sun at 35 miles per second, but then it accelerated to 62 miles per second after passing close to Jupiter. Now, this isn't like any comet we've ever seen before. Comets tend to slow down as they approach the Sun, not speed up. Some people claim that this acceleration proves that we're dealing with an artificial object, maybe even a spacecraft that was nudged by an alien civilization. But others argue that it could be the result of simple physics. You see, as the object moved through our solar system, it encountered several planets. Each planet has a gravitational pull, and depending on where it passes, it could cause the object to speed up or slow down. In theory, it could have passed close enough to Jupiter to cause the acceleration that we observed. But still, if it was just a natural object, why does it appear so man-made? We still don't have the answer to this question, but that hasn't stopped people from coming up with theories. What do they have to say? Here are some of the most popular ideas out there. One idea is that we're looking at a piece of alien technology that broke off from a larger ship. If this is true, then it would make sense why the object has such strange properties. Its density, shape, and acceleration could all be explained by advanced alien technology. There's just one problem with this theory, though. In order to have broken off from a larger ship, it would need to have come from a planet that's capable of producing strong artificial gravity. And given that it appears to have hailed from the Alpha Centauri system, this is highly unlikely. After all, scientists have already determined that Alpha Centauri doesn't have any planets within its habitable zone. Another idea is that we're looking at a giant alien probe. This is the idea that has the most evidence to back it up, but it also has some major flaws. Let's start with the evidence. When astronomers took pictures of the object, it appeared reddish in color, which indicates that it had a thin layer of iron on the surface. This makes sense if it was manufactured by an alien civilization, as they would have likely used iron to protect it from the harsh environment of outer space. Another piece of evidence is its acceleration. Remember how I mentioned that it sped up as it approached Jupiter? Well, scientists believe that this was the result of an intentional maneuver. They say that Jupiter's gravity could have caused the object to flip over, revealing a large reflective surface. This would have caused it to speed up as sunlight bounced off it. But there's one problem with this theory. Astronomers were unable to capture an image of the object after it passed Jupiter. They expected to see it move faster, but they didn't expect it to change shape. So they weren't prepared to take an image and confirm their hypothesis. But what are the flaws in this theory? Well, for starters, it would require the civilization responsible for building this probe to be extremely advanced. We're talking lights years ahead of where we are today. This is because the probe would need to have traveled thousands of light years just to reach our solar system. And during that time, it would have needed to maintain its speed and trajectory. It would also need to have been able to communicate with its creators across those vast distances, which brings us to the biggest flaw in this theory. We have no evidence that there's an alien civilization capable of doing such a thing. Some people argue that this is not a big deal because we haven't explored 99% of the universe yet. So it's unreasonable to assume that there aren't any alien civilizations out there, but the fact remains that we have no evidence. Which brings us to the final possibility. What if this object really is just a natural space rock? That may sound boring, but hear me out. We have no evidence of aliens, yet we have plenty of evidence pointing to natural explanations for this object's behavior. Its shape could have been altered due to collisions with other space rocks. Its acceleration could have been caused by gravitational forces, and its density could simply be the result of chemical composition. This idea is backed by some famous astronomers too. One of them is Greg Laughlin from the Planetary Science Institute. He believes that Oumuamua is simply a hunk of nitrogen ice that broke off from a larger Kuiper Belt object. Basically, he thinks that it's a type of space rock that we've seen before, just covered in a layer of nitrogen. So, what do you think? Is Oumuamua a boring space rock or a mysterious alien probe? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe for more videos about amazing discoveries in space. Thanks for watching.